So we're talking about the Bowe Bergdahl. Bowe Bergdahl, the POW who was swapped out for 5 Taliban people. Now, the thing that got me is that people started smearing him, saying he's a traitor and his dad is a bad guy and what's wrong and why he's a bad. To me, we haven't even heard his story yet. Here's how Shep Smith puts it.
If you desert or commit treason, you have to be proved to have done so.
Absolutely.
We can't just decide because some people come on television and yakety yak and we get a report of this and a report of that, that's what happened. As the Army said, as the Pentagon said, you bring them home. You bring them home first, and then you investigate. One thing is he's missing, you fix that. The other thing is there are allegations that he deserted or did anything inappropriate. Then you investigate that and let the chips fall where they may. It ain't a soup.
There is a Fox producer off camera furiously going, he's gone rogue. He's off the reservation.
So what he just said there is true. I don't understand how people who consider themselves Americans will allow themselves to publicly smear and pronounce guilty a soldier who was 5 years captive without a trial, without knowing his mental health status, without knowing was he bipolar, was he schizophrenic, was it worse? Did he have a mental breakdown at war? I flew over to Afghanistan to tell jokes. I had a mental breakdown over there, and I was just there to tell jokes. Okay, I don't know how anybody gets through being over there. All right, so the fact that the guy snapped or whatever happened, maybe he snapped, maybe he didn't. We don't know what happened, and I'm saying it's wrong to smear this guy until you bring him home, which is the proper thing to do, according to even McChrystal says. Here's what General McChrystal said about it. Here's McChrystal.
Well, we don't leave Americans behind. That's unequivocal.
I'm going to play that again because that was a little light.
Well, we don't leave Americans behind. That's unequivocal.
We don't leave Americans behind. That's unequivocal.
Right.
That's General McChrystal. So what does he say about the circumstances and how is this supposed to work? General McChrystal, who was the Allied commander in Afghanistan, who's a big hero to the right, and here's what he says.
Sure. After Sergeant Bergdahl, then Private Bergdahl, came up missing, we did a huge number of operations to try to stop the Taliban from being able to move him across the border into Pakistan. And we made a great effort and put a lot of people at risk in doing that. But that's what you should do.
So everybody keeps saying, we lost 6 guys trying to find this guy who was a deserter. General McChrystal, the general, just said, this is what you're supposed to do. We would do this for him. We do this for anybody else. This is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
But apparently, here we go.
That's what soldiers do for each other. So it wasn't the wrong thing to do. I think we're going to have to wait and talk to Sergeant Bergdahl now and get his side of the story. One of the great things about America is we should not judge until we know the facts. And after we know the facts, then we should make a mature judgment on how we should handle it.
Yeah.
Okay. Unlike other people, every other person who's commented, my good friend Karl Kozlowski does not take that advice.
Right.
He thinks, no, we should comment and we shouldn't wait. And it's okay. What if you're wrong? You just smeared an American soldier. Well, I guess we'll take it back. But I don't think we're wrong, so smear him. It shows a lack of character. It just shows how craven half the political debate is in America. And that's not saying that I'm any fan of the Democrats. The Democrats are mostly bought and paid for by Wall Street and corporations, right? So we're living in a banana republic right now where our representatives are not responsive to our electorate. They're only responsive to their donors. So they're corrupt, but there's half of the electorate that is literally untethered from reality and completely manufacturing every new scandal on a monthly basis, right?
You know,
and it's because Barack Obama and the Democrats have become Republicans. This is why. They've got no way to attack him. They would love to attack his single-payer health care plan, except he instituted their plan. They would love to attack his real foreign policy, except he's doing their foreign policy.
Right.
He's killing bin Laden. He's bombing Libya. He ramped up the war in Afghanistan. He's did a surge. He's doing everything they want him to do. And that's why that's why this is happening. Here is the former official, the chief advisor to President Bush. Here's what he had to say about it.
But, we can't keep them for another 50 years. And in particular, with the Afghanistan war winding down, we were going to have to return them sooner or later. Not an easy choice here.
Sure.
So he says we're going to have to return them sooner or later because the war's over.
Matter of fact, it's not sooner than later. There's a deadline.
Yeah,
it's basically January 1st, 2015.
Yeah,
they have to be expatriated.
And these people keep saying, I don't know if we should have let these 5 bad guys go. They were going to be let go anyway.
And by the way, they're actually in a safer place right now. They're on parole in Qatar.
Yes.
Right now, and they'll be that way for a year.
Yes.
They actually are more monitored for an extra 6 months than they would have been if they had just been straight out released.
Right. So, but what about, would the Bush administration have done this?
I'm not saying this is clearly an easy choice, but frankly, I think a Republican, a president of either party, Republican or Democratic, confronted with this opportunity to get back Sergeant Bergdahl, who was apparently in failing health, would have taken this opportunity to do this and then take the same kind of heat that President Obama is taking now. I think we would have made the same decision in the Bush administration.
There you go.
So all this is completely phony, manufactured. We know it is.
I like to think of Bowe Bergdahl as reverse Jessica Lynch. That's how I look at her.
Okay. So let's remember what Shep Smith said. Let's remember one more time.
If you desert or commit treason, you have to be proved to have done so.
Absolutely.
We can't just decide because some people come on television and yakety yak and we get a report of this and a report of that, but that's what happened. As the Army said, as the Pentagon said, you bring them home. You bring them home first, and then you investigate. One thing is he's missing, you fix that. The other thing is there are allegations that he deserted or did anything inappropriate. Then you investigate that and let the chips fall where they may. It ain't a soup.
Yes, these are dividing lines on how you handle this. So let's see, did the rest of Fox News take Shep Smith's advice or General McChrystal's advice or the senior advisor in the Bush administration's advice? Let's see if they listened to them or they're craven political operatives who told them to make a political hay out of this and smear a soldier and his family. Let's see what they did.
Not only was he a deserter, Bergdahl not only a deserter.
It was well known that he was a deserter.
Looks to me like a deserter or a traitor or both.
How far did they go to get one anti-American back into the country and trade up for 5 anti-American killers?
Why the Obama administration would give away 5 terrorists to get him back.
Yeah, he said, I'm ashamed to be an American. His father also wrote back to him in an email, quote, obey your conscience. That's 3 days before he left. And we're hearing from our sources now that he's also having trouble speaking English, not even sure if he knows how to speak English anymore.
Wow.
You mean 5 years away from speaking English and he doesn't know how to speak English anymore?
I
What
bet
a shock.
This guy, so what they're saying is this guy's a traitor. This
Yeah.
guy's a traitor. Did you give him a trial yet? No. Did you hear from him yet? No. Is this the worst, lowest thing you could possibly do? Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Will you have to pay a price for this? No. No, none of us will pay a price for this.